What is up, everyone? Welcome to Ginger Runner Live, episode 351.
Nailed it.
I did. A little rusty because it's been a couple weeks. So welcome back. We're back to our weekly schedule, Ginger Runner Live every Monday, Daily Brew every day if you are a Patreon supporter. But as you can see, things are a little bit different here. We've changed locations. We'll talk a little bit about that in today's episode. But our guest tonight, Alex Borsick, just won the Tillamook Burn 50K, crushed it. Can't wait to find out more about that. And we're going to dig into what she's been up to over the last year as well, from the Grand Traverse, which sounds...
That looked incredible.
Insane. Plus the unsupported FKT around Mount Rainier on the Wonderland Trail, which took place a week after Dylan and Caitlin's FKT. So we have a lot to cover with our guest tonight. We're excited to have her. Welcome, everyone, to Ginger Runner Live, episode number 351, with our guest, Alex Borsick. The show begins now.
Ginger Runner.
Yay! What is up, everybody? Welcome to Ginger Runner Live, episode number 351. Thank you for taking some time out of your busy Mondays to spend a little bit of it with us. As you can tell, we adjusted the time of the start a little bit, which we kind of like. I kind of like this in between 4 and 6 p.m., somewhere in there. But we also changed locations.
We changed locations. We took a couple weeks off, and I am feeling very rusty right now.
Totally rusty.
We live stream every single day, but for some reason, I'm like, do I remember how to do this?
Yeah, this all feels new. It all feels different. Yeah, so welcome to the show. It's going to be a lot of fun. Our guest tonight, Alex Borsick, is a Pacific Northwest badass ultra runner adventurer. And we're excited to have her on because just this last weekend, she won the Tillamook Burn 50K. And can't wait to dig into that. Haven't run that race, but have just heard great things.
It looks awesome, yeah.
There's a 50-miler, 50K. There's a lot of racers out there this weekend. And because races are beginning to come back, especially here in the Northwest, I wanted to dig into what the experience was like, getting back to racing, being around hundreds of other competitors, and having that blast out there in Oregon. She also did the Grand Traverse, which is a ski mountaineering adventure, which I can't wait to dig into.
Looked a little intense.
Yeah, that's like next level. So we'll ask her a little bit about that, as well as some of her FKTs from last year and what she's been up to over the last year. So before we introduce our guest, Alex Borsick, we have some additional things that we'd like to cover at the top of the show. First and foremost, it's not just myself. It's not just our guest, Alex, who we'll introduce here in just a second. Kim.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good. What's up, everyone? Kim Tashima Newberry here. If you're new, welcome. We have some people joining the live chat for the first time tonight. So welcome. We'll be bringing Alex on in just a second. And because we are live, you can ask your questions in the chat room.
Yes.
We'd love to hear from you.
And we have some individuals that we like to thank at the top of every show. It is our GR crew, our Patreon supporters. It's because of them that we're able to do this show live every single Monday, our Daily Brew every single day, do reviews, films, all that sort of stuff. So big shout out to all of our Patreon crew. We call them the GR crew. 2 individuals in particular at that top tier. Rick Bjarnison, he's an ultra runner out of BC, Canada. He's a fantastic ultra runner. He's also a web developer. His company, cheekymonkeymedia.ca, they redid the gingerrunner.com website. They're really, really great company. They work with web maintenance and stuff. So if you have a website or a company that has a website that's looking for a company to maintain it and keep it updated and all that good stuff, he's great. Their company's great. So big shout out to Rick. And of course, Brian Sands. Brian Sands has been a longtime supporter of not only us, but the community at large. And he himself is just a fantastic athlete with an amazing, amazing story, truly inspirational. So big shout out to both Rick and Brian. Thank you guys so much for being a top tier on Patreon and for allowing us to do this full time. In addition, this is the last week to register for our virtual event, Tiger Claw Virtual, which is a vert-based challenge coming up this weekend. It's I believe the price just changed, so it's $35, but you get to earn your vert coins. So for every 1,000 feet of vert you get a vert coin. You can all just go to runtigerclaw.com. I also have the link pinned in the comments of today's live show. You can go register for that. It's really, really fun. We've got tons of people registered, and we're raising $5,000 for the local Issaquah Alps Trails Club.
Yes.
It's just great. Okay, you've all been so patient. We very much appreciate it. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce our guest tonight, Alex Borsick, coming to us all the way from just a couple of hours south.
Depending on the traffic.
Yeah, depending on
the traffic.
anywhere from a couple of hours to a couple of days, just south of us in Oregon. So without further ado, we are honored to welcome back to the show, but I believe first time solo. I might be wrong about that, but I'm excited. It's long overdue. Alex Borsick.
Yay!
Hi, thank you for having me, you guys. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, I can't believe that it's taken us this long to just have you on. I mean, you're connected with just so many amazing athletes here across the Northwest, West Coast, honestly, the world, really. But you do so much, and you do so much for others. It's cool to like just be able to highlight you because you have done so much with your own resume. Most recently, this last weekend. How are the legs feeling? Because it's probably the first race in a while.
It was just yesterday, right?
I think it was just yesterday.
Yeah, just yesterday.
I was like,
Yeah, I'm feeling okay, like a little sore, but pretty good, actually. Pretty good. I trained well for it.
Okay, so that actually, that's where I think I want to start is training, because we've talked with other guests and stuff that we've had on the show about this. The last year clearly has been an opportunity in a sense for athletes to sort of hone their skill, dial in training, obviously not race and really put themselves out there with competitors at large, but really dial in what they need to do to excel, to be ready for this race season. What has the last year been like for you? Have you been able to train? Have you been able to get access to trails? And what's been your focus?
Yeah, it's been pretty rocky. I'm sure as probably most people can attest to with their own like personal journeys. But I've had some really good months of training and some months I've had to take like totally off, dealing with like certain health issues. So it's been up and down, but the last 4 months I've been super focused and prioritizing training and recovery and rest. And it's been really good for me.
When I saw you in person last year during Caitlin's FKT on the Wonderland Trail. And at that time, it seemed like you had been able to get in some training. You had mentioned some of the health issues and stuff that sort of took you out of the training game and stuff for a little bit. But when I saw you, you seemed like dialed, like you were ready to charge after your own FKT the next week. So I'm super curious. Last year, towards the end of the summer, were you eyeing the unsupported FKT around Mount Rainier, or was it something that, seeing Dylan go and seeing Caitlin go was kind of like, yeah, I really want to go for this
pandemic
too.
project.
Yeah, pandemic project. Like, what was your impetus for the Wonderland project for you?
No, I had thought about it all summer. Actually beginning of last year, it was definitely in the back of my mind. And I really liked the unsupported aspect. And so that was the only thought that crossed my mind before I even knew other friends were going for their own Wonderland FKT. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it was kind of something I was looking forward to all year, but one of those goals I kind of felt like way too big to really commit to. It's like, oh yeah, this is a really big goal. Maybe one day in a few years, I'll go for it. Who knows? But it was just kind of out there. And then as the year went on, I was like, maybe this is the year. Maybe now is time to harness some self-belief and go for it. And yeah, I did it.
What do you think that was fueled by the fact that the pandemic just, took races and took a lot of these traveling opportunities and stuff away? Did it force you to sort of look closer to home and backyard? And is that what sort of inspired the let's do it this year?
I don't think so, because I'm not a big racer. I don't do a lot of races. I don't really travel for a lot of races. I just love our local trails so much that pandemic or not, I would have wanted to do that just because where else are you going to run 100 miles of the most amazing trail in the world? I mean, we're really spoiled here to have such a good trail. So I think it just so happened to be last year during the pandemic, but I think I would have went for it maybe either way.
One thing that I think how we found you was clearly through social media. You obviously have a big following and you take just epic photos. And before the pandemic, it was like, oh my God, they're in France or they're in Europe and they're traveling and they're doing all these epic stuff. And the your adventures just seem so amazing and kind of bucket list style travel, right? Like you're going around Mont Blanc on the Mont Blanc circumnavigation trail and stuff like that. You mentioned loving the backyard that we have here in the Pacific Northwest. How does it compare across the board? Because you've traveled the world. So how does it compare to the rest of the places that you visited and run?
Well, I mean, I have such a soft spot for the Northwest. It's so beautiful here. The mountains are incredible, like the volcanoes, the Cascades, our trails. I mean, Europe is insanely gorgeous. It's kind of the same feel though. Like the Alps like are very similar to the North Cascades, except that we don't have like fondue at 8,000 feet, which is a huge bummer because that would make everything perfect in the Northwest and like no need to travel outside of it. But I think it's just fun to explore new areas. But and like, you know, of course, there's some stuff in Europe we like, always wanted to see and it was on our bucket list. But I think having to stay home last year, like having to stay close to home, I've always had a really strong appreciation for the Northwest. I mean, I moved here 7 years ago and I've been trying to like make the most of it. But like having to be here for a year and not being allowed to travel elsewhere, like really made me appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Like my love for it grew even more, which I didn't even know was possible because I already loved it so much. And it's like, now it's like, I don't really feel like I never need to leave. I still have that like itch to go travel because I think traveling is a lot of fun, but Northwest has it all. There's really no need to leave this area.
It's a sentiment shared by so many that live here. You know, when Kim and I moved back, it was sort of that, oh my God, like, why didn't we do this sooner? I forgot just how much we have here, either out your front door or within a 30 to 45 minute drive. You know, you're on glaciers or snow or whatever. So the Rainier FKT, we started calling them Wonderland Wednesdays because it basically went Wednesday was Dylan, and then 7 days later on a Wednesday was Caitlin, and then 7 days later you started on a Wednesday, right?
Yeah, I wasn't supposed to, but the fires and the windstorm that happened like pushed my time back by a day, and I was like, guess it's meant to be.
Briefly, I want to hear about this experience because unsupported
is a whole different beast.
Completely. On Wonderland especially, there's just so much that you have to take into account. And now I know you and Caitlin have set the FKT for the Infinity Loop, which is, again, a bonkers route. And we had you on the show after that, you and Caitlin. This is different. This is you. This is you alone. This is you taking on just this big challenge. So let's talk a little bit about that experience and what it was like for you. Was it transcendent? Was it how difficult? Let's talk about it.
It was transcendent. Like I've actually never had a better 24 hours of my life, honestly. Like, and I mean, of course, like doing things like this, there's level of difficulty and I mean, there's no doubt about it, but like this difficulty felt a little different. Like it was purely enjoyable. And I'm not like glamorizing like big, tough things, but I just had such a good day out there and like appreciation for being out there on these trails. And like, when you're by yourself, I don't know, I think you just like, you get into this mindset and you either like have a really good time because you have a good mindset or you kind of tear yourself down. And I was in that spot that day where I just had a great mindset and I was just out there to like enjoy it, to be like, I don't know, one on the trail, just like enjoy every second of it, whether if it was good or bad, because like opportunities like that don't come around often.
Right. And
so I was just like, just in a really good mood all day. Like I was smiling all day. I was having fun. It was hard as hell. Like it was really difficult, but I still was having such a good time on it. I don't know. I think it was probably like one of the best days of my life and definitely one of the best experiences. There was like some hard parts, like it was really smoky from all the recent fires. So that was definitely challenging. It was really hot. Trying to even remember. I like always focus on all the good parts of it. I'm like, I know there were some bad parts.
That's not bad. I mean, that's not a bad thing to be able to focus on the good parts as opposed to the suffering. And
I suffered, or this was when things got dark.
Yeah, like I spent 4 hours vomiting or whatever. Like to be able to look back and go, oh my God, the positive parts and not remember the negative is kind of awesome.
Kind of great, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's like a superpower of mine, but also like maybe not like when I go into like tough stuff that I'm like, oh, it's fine, like it'll be fine, and then like maybe it's not. But yeah, there was like a huge windstorm on that Monday, and it like leveled like hundreds of trees in the trail, and so that was actually pretty challenging. Like down from Mowich Lake was like hundreds of old growth trees just like all over, like 20, 30 feet tall, just like trunks like laying across the trail. It was insane. That was pretty stressful because like you're trying to move quickly is the goal, and you're like trying to crawl over and under and on top of trees, and that's pretty bad. And I saw a cougar in the last like 2 hours, which was like actually really stressful.
Oh.
And stalked me for like 3 miles. And I mean, that was actually pretty awful. But I finished in 24:01, 1 minute over 24 hours, which was like a little heartbreaking, but it was still just such a good day out that it was like hard to be upset about that, you know?
Yeah.
It's all those down trees.
Oh yeah.
Ooh.
I mean,
I got lost at sunrise. Like there are so many things that kind of added up throughout the day that just was like, this is the day I meant to have, and I just have to appreciate for what it is.
The fact that, again, that you're able to pull the positives out of this and yes, reflect on the day and it being awesome, as opposed to what you just said, being stalked by a cougar, down trees and getting lost somewhat at sunrise. Sunrise is confusing. I haven't done the trail, but when I'm filming and stuff around that area, it's so easy to just go down one trail and be like, this is it. Look how clearly this trail, this is it. This is the Wonderland Trail. And you're like,
yeah,
I'm in another mountain.
When I ended up at the lodge, I was like, oof, I made a mistake. I'm like, I got to go back. But you're just like in the zone, you know, and it's just, yeah.
Do we want to get to live question? Was there one about that? Go for it.
I got a question. Yeah. Deb Runsfar asks a question for Alex. As a dietitian, how do you feel for your ultras and longer efforts? Do you feel it's a different approach than other ultra runners?
I probably feel differently, but I think everyone has their own like certain thing that they like. Depends on what I'm doing. If I'm doing like yesterday's race, for example, I did like mostly liquid nutrition and gels. But for something like Wonderland, I'll, did a lot of liquid nutrition in case I had like an issue with eating. So I could always have something to make sure I had calories. Then also like a lot of fun calories, because when you're out there for so long, you want to have food that's exciting for you to eat. If you're like dreading eating that gel at mile 10 or, hour 3, you're really not going to love eating that at like hour 20. So foods that like excite you and, taste good are going to be way better for you in the long run than like that packaged gel that you like don't really like. So totally depends on what I'm out there doing. If I'm out there like eating a volcano, I'll probably pack sandwiches. It just depends what I'm doing, where I'm at, what the objective is.
I am super curious to talk about the Grand Traverse, because this is something we have talked about just because we've had friends that have done it in the past. And anytime that we have friends that have done it or attempted it with friends or a partner, they come back with these stories of like, it is crazy. I mean, it's beautiful and it's difficult, but it's just like next level type stuff. What made you sign up for it? Who did you do it with? Tell us a little bit about your experience, because the Grand Traverse is sort of next level. Is it kind of the premier SkiMo race in North America? Would you call it that, or how is it classified?
It's a different type of SkiMo race, which I learned the hard way out there. It's challenging. I don't know. It's like 40 miles, and so a lot of SkiMo races are like short and steep, like go up to the top of a mountain, ski down, or like top of a run or something. This is a lot longer, and it's a lot. It's actually like pretty flat in terms of elevation gain. So over 40 miles, you're gaining like 6,000 feet, which is not a lot, especially for skiing. So it's, hence the name Grand Traverse. It's mainly like a traverse. It's like a flat, like traverse across the mountains. And so I did it with my husband, Matt, who is a big ski guy, big SkiMo guy. But this was like, I don't know why we didn't realize this. Maybe it's just like we were being naive, but like this is way out of our league. Like we both do a lot of skiing. I ski volcanoes, ski all the time in the Northwest. He does like shorter, like more, I guess, traditional SkiMo races.
Okay.
And we're like, oh, we're fine. Like I'm fit from running. Matt's definitely fit from skiing. Like we'll be fine. And the race turns out is like, you have to know how to ski, like how to Nordic ski, because there's so much flat that like, that's what you need to do to get through the race. Like the climbs are not like, so a lot of the climbs aren't big enough where you would put on skins and like skin up the hill or the mountain. Like you're keeping your skins off and like skate skiing through it. And that is something I've never done. So like fit or not, I don't even have the technique to do it. And Matt is injured. He's had his injury for 1.5 years. And it's like a hip injury. And so he's not able to do that movement either. So we were just out there suffering for hours as like many people would pass us because they like had the technique down, they knew what to do.
Yeah.
And we were like, man, we're fit, but we actually like we can't do it. So we were stuck just like slowly sliding across the snow with our skins on while people were just like buzzing by us. So it turned like an already long and tough day into like a very long and tough day.
Humbling, if anything.
Very humbling, very humbling. It was
long?
like one of those races just felt like fitness didn't matter. And it was a shame because like we felt really fit for it. So it was learning experience.
Yeah, it's I can imagine it's more difficult for you, but as a fan, of you and Matt and a friend of yours, I've known you guys for a while, knowing how fit you are, I can only imagine how that felt to be like, we're ready, we're going to tackle this huge physical challenge and get there and be like, I can't go. Like, I'm overusing my fitness because you're having to compensate, right? Like, it's probably exhausting.
Yeah, it was a little embarrassing, but like I also have like thrown my pride out the window and stuff like that because it's like it's what I enjoy, but it's not like what I really do. And so I'm like, well, I don't really have any pride for this. Let's just get through it and just like try to make the most out of it, try to have some fun. But like having fun at like 12,000 feet while you're like suffering is like a little challenging to do. but we did it. Our main goal was to not get divorced by the end of it, and we succeeded. So that was good for us.
That actually brings up the great question. Kim and I have raced together in a race before. It is. I highly recommend it for couples because I think it is a great way to just peel back every layer of confidence and communication that you might have.
Like doing an entire race or event together.
Yeah, we did a 50K together, and it was certainly one of those like, wow, we just learned a lot.
It was fine, you guys. It was my first 50K. It was a great thing to choose.
And I had a camera that I just kept shoving in your face.
Oh God.
How was it for you and Matt? Like, obviously, was this the first race that you guys had done together or as a partner, as a team? And how was that?
Yeah, this was the first time we'd raced, but we've done so much together. Like we've spent hours and hours and hours, like in the Northwest doing volcanoes, climbing, running, backpacking, biking, like you name it. We do most of the things together. So like working together wasn't strange to us. We have so much practice with that, but we were both like on edge. Like I was like 3 days before my period. So I was really like just emotional. And then like we were at altitude and that just, makes you a little bit extra emotional when you can't breathe. And like he was frustrated. I was frustrated. And we just go through periods like, thank God we both weren't at a low point at the same time because who knows what would have happened. But like I'd be at a low point, he'd know how to get me out of it. And then like vice versa. So I think like actually having spent so much time together doing things just like casually in the mountains, really helped us like get through this.
I can only imagine the amount of experience that you two have shared in the mountains in so many different days, good, bad, and he's been crew for you and you've been crew for him, I'm sure, through all of these adventures. So there probably is just this underlying layer of we got each other's back no matter how bad it gets, even if it is a bit of a humbling experience. How long did it ended up taking you for the whole traverse?
Just over 11 hours.
So that's a good day in the mountains. That's a good long trudge through the snow at 12,000 feet.
It sure was.
Would you do it again?
I don't think so. And I've actually never said about anything I've done. Everything I'm like, I'd probably go do it again. Like I do the infinity loop again before I do this again.
Wow.
And it's like nothing against the race. I mean, the race was awesome. Objectively, it's an amazing race. And like everyone, like the RDs, so awesome. Like the race experience itself was very cool. But unless I learn how to like skate ski, I will not do it again. It's just like, it just seems silly to do something like that again without actually knowing how to do it.
And what's not, this could be an equipment thing, but I grew up Nordic skiing. So for me, cross-country skiing and skate skiing was sort of something I really liked doing.
We'll sign you up for
I can't wait.
Yeah, you should do it. It'd be great.
We should do it together. Remember last time you skied?
I've skied once in my adult life.
Perfect. And we'll film it and we'll be out there for 17 days. But I love skate skiing and it's something that sort of comes naturally. But the second I strap in SkiMo gear or any of the wider planks or any of that sort of thing, it's far more difficult. So I can only imagine that there's a lot of gear that you have to have that's very specific to that type of race. It doesn't make or break, but it certainly probably gives you advantages.
Sure.
Did you feel like, did you have the adequate equipment, or was it one of those things where you started looking around at the start line at other people's gear and going, wait, what don't we have here? What is this?
No, we had all the right gear. Unfortunately, we looked like we were going to be really good, because we had all the right gear.
Oh
You're
yeah.
probably like, wow, those people look legit. And then they see us ski and they're like, oh God, nope. So like, maybe we should have had as good of gear, and then we could have swung under the radar there. But yeah.
Oh, I love that. I feel like that sometimes also at the start of a trail race where I'll show up with
like super kitted out.
yeah, like I get stuff for reviews and I'll be like, oh, this is the brand new vest that's not even released yet. And I'll show up to a start line and people will like, oh, is that the new vest that isn't released? And I'll go, don't expect anything out of me. Whatever.
Right.
I do want to start talking about this race that you just crushed this last weekend. Tillamook Burn is a Pacific Northwest classic. I mean, it's been going on now for a number of years out of Oregon and looks gorgeous, looks beautiful. I am super curious what this was like getting back to trail racing again. Was this your first race since the start of the pandemic? Like trail running?
First race since Orca's 100.
Wow. So it's been a while. And was it weird? Like what was the feeling showing up to the start? Were you excited? Was it just sort of an overwhelming thing, or what was that?
Yeah, I felt like going home, like you just get to this place and this place is familiar, because I ran this race 3 other years. And, all your friends, some you've seen, some you haven't seen for a year, like in the same familiar place. And it just was like, it was the best feeling. Like everything just felt warm and fuzzy. Just seeing people, being there, like it's almost as if like the last year didn't even happen. You just showed up and it was like, oh, things feel good, So that was it's awesome.
And your training leading into it, was that a challenge? Were things dialed? Were you just chopping at the bit to really let loose? What was the training leading into it like?
Ooh, so I actually took like most of December and a little bit of January off from running. And so just for some health issues. And I got back like mid-January or end of January, started just base training. I was like, I felt like I was starting from zero. So like basically from mid-January to now was like 3 months. I don't know, 3.5 months. I felt like it was mostly base training. So I felt actually like that was, I've never like spent so much time like doing that, like actually just like putting in the work to like create a good solid base. So I felt really good going into the race. This race was like kind of like a brick in the wall for my training, because I have some races lined up this year. So it was kind of a good like step into, I don't know, seeing what I could do. And there's like a part of my training plan, I guess. But I felt those 3 months of training went pretty well. And I felt like really good and confident going into the race.
So for the race itself, did it play out early on how you expected? Was it a fast course? Was it, did you hit low points? Because I know that it really came down to the last few miles. It was a full on race for a majority of it. So I'm curious how the first 20 miles or so went for you.
Well, I've actually never raced a 50K. So this was like very challenging for me, and I kind of didn't know what to do. So my coach, David Roach, was like, just go out, like easy mod, run, and just like run, like how you just like have fun. And I was like, all right, I guess I'll do that, try that. So I've been on these trails a lot, so I'm really familiar with them.
Sure.
I'm so lucky to live like an hour from them. And these trails are some of the most amazing trails in the world. And so I just went out and was like, well, I know how I feel and how I can like run these. And so I just stuck to my own pacing. And I didn't go into this race. I mean, I felt like competitive going into it, but I wasn't like going in this race to win it. It was kind of just like a brick in the wall and then in my training. So I just went in, felt like it just like stayed steady. Like I wasn't really stressed at all, which is unexpected. I was surprised by like how kind of not stressed I was going into it the last few weeks before the race. But I just kind of stayed steady the whole time. I just kept my single pace, and I didn't really have any low points. I just kind of went out for a run and like just went out to enjoy these trails. And I was sitting in like third for most of the race,
Right.
but I wasn't really that worried. I was like, I'm keeping my own pace. And that's like my goal today, is just to like work on pacing. And we got to, let's see, 20, I think like 20, mile 20, mile 22, or no, mile 20, or like at the last aid station. And they were like, oh, girl just took off. She's a couple minutes ahead of you. The girl's like a bit ahead of you. And I was like, all right, cool. Like, just gonna go out, and just kept running. And I felt like I had paced so well and like how I wanted to, that, as the last climb is like a 6 mile climb with like 1,700 feet of gain. So it's just like steady douche grade up the whole thing. And you're like, and that like can make or break people, because like it's very runnable, and it's almost like too runnable. It's not like steep where everyone's hiking. You have to have enough energy for that point to like get up that climb successfully. And I felt really good. And again, I was like sticking to my same pace, and kept going. And I saw the girl who was in second, and I ended up passing her and felt good, kept running. And I got to the top before the last climb, or the last descent, which is like a 3-mile, 1,500-foot descent. So it's like very quad intensive. And the people at the aid station were like, hey, the first place girl is 3 minutes ahead of you. And I was like, ooh, 3 minutes over 3 miles. Like that's a lot, right? Like that's, if she's already 3 minutes ahead on this like downhill, that's really hard to keep up,
right,
or to catch her. And I was like, not that huge of that's a pretty big margin. And so I was like, all right, well, I'm just going to keep running my race. Not that like I didn't give up, but I wasn't like going to go chase her, because I kind of felt like that was kind of out of reach. And I was already stoked to like have been in the second place position right now. So I just kept running. And then like, I think about 1.5 miles down the trail, I saw her, and I was feeling good. I love downhills, and I had saved enough energy for this last bit. I was like really looking forward to it. And then I ended up passing her, and then just felt really good and kept cruising to the finish. And it's like a pretty anticlimactic day, because I feel like I just went out for like a really solid run and just had a really good day. Like no nutrition issues. I was cramping a little bit at the end, but it got a little hot. So I think that's maybe what happened. But like no energy dips, no low points, like just steady, and just had fun out there. And so, yeah, ended up just winning by like 2 minutes barely. But it was, just ended up being a good day for me.
We love a good finish chase. Like within the last mile, the real action happens over the course of a 31, 32 mile race. Like
it's always fun when it's a close race.
Yeah. Cause everyone's working hard the whole day, right? If you're holding first position, you're holding people off. If you're in second, third, fourth, you're chasing. So there's always work and strategy going on. So we love a good like last mile pass and chase down. I believe you were chasing Dominique Stasuli. And so that was sort of the rivalry there in the last mile. I'm curious, in a moment like that where maybe you're taking the day kind of normal, just kind of testing it out and seeing how the body's doing, that sort of thing, and you get to this last mile and you start, okay, I'm going to turn on the jets here. You start going down. Do you have an interaction with that person that you're passing who is in first place and you've been chasing kind of all day? Is there you're doing awesome, or is it kind of I'm just going to book by and we'll deal with pleasantries later?
Oh, of course there's like you're doing awesome. I think there's no way you can like run a race or a trail without saying that to someone, because like objectively everyone is doing awesome, no matter like what they're doing in the race. So I think I'm pretty sure I said that to her. But it was pretty cool. Like the first like 4 girls that were running, we were like, our names were on our bib. And so the whole race, you couldn't really like, it's so forested, so you can't really see who's in front of you, but sometimes there would be like a loop on, or like I don't know, part on the trail we could see someone in front of you. It was pretty rare, but then we'd shout out like, hey, like good job, and we'd call their name out. So it was such like a friendly, fun time yesterday. I don't know. I don't really race much, and so I've never actually been in that position where I'm like chasing down the first person. That was a first for me. So I don't know.
It's congratulations. I mean, it just sounds like it was a very well executed race. It sounds like you do a very good job of dialing in whatever that day might need, whether that's on the Wonderland Trail doing an unsupported FKT or having to navigate issues with the traverse that involve a lot of skill sets that maybe you didn't dial in beforehand because you didn't know that you're going to need to learn how to skate ski. It sounds like you are able to execute on the day. And I remember this.
Physically and mentally.
Yeah, physically and mentally,
Yeah.
which says a lot about you as an athlete. And I remember that a lot when we had you on to talk about the Infinity Loop, because I think you and Caitlin got so far down into that barrel of despair. You got it done, but you had to find a way to claw your way back out. And it just seems like you really have a good sense about you. And this race is a perfect example. I can't wait to see where this leads for the year, Alex. It's absolutely awesome. Did you have any low points? Did you have any mantras, or did you have any thoughts or driving forces behind the day that sort of kept you even keeled?
Yeah, well, actually, before I get into that, but like going back, like I'm a pretty energetic person in real life. Like people who know me are like, the girl is always stoked, and I just like have that energy all the time. But like in these situations, I am so calm. Like I'm like really excited and happy, but I feel like I just like this calmness. Whether it's like that I'm outside the mountains and these beautiful places, I just feel like centered and calm. But like that's how it was yesterday. And I had people comment on that, like, wow, you were so calm out there. And I was like, I was just out there having fun. And I think like that has helped me in these situations, whether things go really well or things go bad. It's like, I just have this like sense of calm out there, which maybe a superpower in that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a superpower. To be able to remain calm, I think, is a skill. It has to be a skill. And it's certainly something that you can tap into in scenarios like this, because not everyone can chill and either trust their training or trust their skill set. It's difficult. I can't show up to a race chill. I don't think that's happened ever. I don't.
There was that one time where you're in the porta potty panicking. Was that not chill?
Yeah, before the Cascade Crest 100, where I almost blacked out. Yeah, that was certainly not chill.
But yeah, my mantra, I like always have a different one, just kind of depending on like what I'm going out there for. But I was watching Ted Lasso on Saturday night.
Classic.
Before. Oh, so good. And I was just rewatching some of my favorite episodes. So I was watching like episode 8 and 9. And in episode 8, there's a scene where he's playing darts against the previous club owner. And it's just such a powerful, amazing scene. And in the scene, Ted quotes Walt Whitman. And the quote is, "Be curious, not judgmental." And I took this quote a different way. I've heard this quote a million times. I think it's a really powerful quote. But I thought of it differently that day. And I don't know why or how it hit me that, but I was like, I'm going to go into this race and like be curious. Like I've had some really good training, and like maybe now it's time to like trust myself a little more, believe in myself a little bit more, and like be curious about what I can do. But at the same time, like don't be judgmental. Like don't judge yourself. Like this is the first time coming out of COVID. It doesn't really matter what happens. Like go in there, be curious, but like don't judge yourself with the results, whether they're good or bad. It's just, it is what it is, and just be like happy with whatever happens. And so that was what I just thought about the whole race. Just like stay curious, be curious, and like just keep loving yourself no matter the results. And that was like that kind of thing. It was like a really big turning point for me, because I haven't always been like that.
Believe.
Yes.
Believe. Ted Lasso would clearly come on our show and say that.
We should have him on.
Well, let's call him. Let's get him on. I know the time difference. We'll make it work. Season 2 dropping soon. Non-spawn. We do have some live questions from our live chat room here. Kim, I'll let you get to those. Actually, maybe first we can shout out some of the results from the Tillamook 50, if you want to pull that up there, because I know that one thing that we like to do is, of course, we recognize athlete. We have an athlete on the show who crushed it, women's race, 50K, the winner, Alex Borsick, but also Casey Pugh. Want to give him a shout out for winning the 50K for men. Dominique Stasuli, who I believe you were chasing down there, and Polly Brookings, third place female. So on the men's side, it was Casey Pugh, Johnny Hendel, and Frank Fabraro. I'm going to pronounce that completely wrong. Do we have the 50 miler results there too?
We do.
Yeah, right there. Because I
got it.
Good enough. Because this was another really fun race to at least follow on social media. Mario Mendoza, Drew Holman, and Tyler Green, who
you may have heard of them.
May have heard of them. It was awesome to sort of follow along from afar. And Caitlin Jacobson,
Local.
Leah Brown, and Zoe Rom. Awesome runners all the way around. And I don't know. I get excited. This is one of the first races that we've actually talked about on Ginger Runner Live, because they're just starting to come back. It feels good to kind of talk about races and race results again and have people who did really well.
Starting to get that sense of community back.
Yeah. Did it feel?
Yeah, there's a question asking if the race itself or the atmosphere felt a lot different with COVID protocols, or is the vibe the same as usual? That question was from Angela.
I thought the vibe was pretty similar. I think everyone was like extra grateful to be there. And I think like just the gratitude in the air was like really cool to feel. But like, I don't know, everyone wore the protocols for COVID protocols were like spot on in this race. Like you felt really comforted knowing that like everyone was doing what they had to do or what they should do. Like everyone at the aid stations was wearing masks, and we, were told to wear masks when we passed other runners, and we're at the aid stations, and everyone was so respectful of that. It felt like it was such an amazing experience. I didn't really know what to expect, and I was like blown away by it.
Awesome. We do have some live questions. Maybe get to one of these, and then we'll wrap up the main show, move into the after show.
Deb Runs Far asks, Alex, I may have missed this, but what was your path getting into ultra running? Were you a runner in college?
No. I basically started running once I moved to the Northwest 7 years ago, trail running. I started by like doing some hikes, and then I wanted to go longer hikes. So then I would like try to do them faster and then jog down, the trails. And then that just evolved over time to trying to run more of them. And then here we are.
I feel like we have multiple friends who've found trail running, not by accident, but just sort of through other sports. And, Caitlin's one of them as well. And it's always cool to just see how great of an athlete they become in trail and ultra running. So this is really cool, Alex. It's awesome to have you on the show again and to talk a little bit about the last year and the things that you've been up to. Obviously, you've been up to a ton. I mean, we didn't even touch on the ptarmigan traverse, which I know that you and Caitlin did, and that is a beast in and of itself. Do you have a schedule filling out now for the rest of the year? Have you looked forward, or at this point it's like, let's just take it kind of 1 week, 1 month at a time?
Well, I definitely try to look at it that way, just because like health things are so uncertain that I can't like tie myself to any one thing.
Yeah.
But I do have a race in 5 weeks, or actually a month, Mount Baker Ultra, which I'm really excited about.
Nice.
Really, it was like a bucket list race for sure. And then I'm doing TDS, hopefully.
Cool.
In August. Yeah.
Awesome. I mean, I know you're familiar with that region. Have you run that full trail in pieces?
I ran in pieces. Yeah.
Cool. God, that's gonna be fun to follow. Well, I hope that happens. I hope that happens for you.
Yes, me too.
We just have so much fun following you. So our guest, Alex Borsick, tonight, the winner of the Tillamook Burn 50K from yesterday. The weekend was a big weekend for the Tillamook. So Alex, remind our audience where they can find you on social media. If they want to follow up or follow your future adventures and stuff like that, where can they find you? How can they follow you? Let them know.
So I'm only on Instagram, Alex Borsick, my last name, Borsuk. I don't use like any other type of social media, but I do have a website, alexborsick.com, and I can answer questions if you want to email me that way.
Perfect. You know what to do, GR Crew. Get out there and follow Alex on social, and thank her for being on the show. We are, of course, going to move into our after show now with Alex. So we're going to ask all of the remaining questions that didn't get asked during this show, as well as ask any remaining questions from our GR Crew. If you would like to join us for our after show, all you got to do is go to patreon.com/thegingerrunner, and you can join us there. And we do daily live streams called Daily Brew over a cup of coffee or a beer. We talk about running, adventures, life. Honestly, has a lot to do with food, food and pets, but it's a super fun way to engage the community every single day right here on the channel. So head on over to patreon.com/thegingerrunner. But before we wrap up this show, we do have a new segment, and I say new. We've been doing it for like 2 years. It's not new. It is our GR Crew Member of the Week, where we get to recognize a member of the community who goes above and beyond, does something amazing, pushes down their own walls. Kim, who is this week's GR crew member?
This week's GR crew member of the week is Kenna. And Kenna says, Ricky Gates took 46 days. I'll likely take 2 to 3 years, but celebrating the 1 year mark of every single street today. My most consistent and most enjoyable year of running yet. And Kenna is taking on Seattle.
Oh, man.
If you're on our Discord server, check it out. Kenna did post a photo of their map to show the streets that they've covered so far, and it's very impressive. Very impressive.
Seattle's one. I mean, I've been excited to attempt this as well. There's sort of a secret side of me that's like, I really want to give this a shot. Every single street. Seattle is brutal. I would think Portland's the same way, like just hills.
It's just very hilly.
It's very hilly.
Very hilly.
I think there was an individual who did do Seattle, and they had the vert number was insane. It was just so much because it's like San Francisco in that there's hills on every block. Congratulations for being our GR crew member. It is awesome to recognize what your accomplishment is, and we can't wait to follow as well.
Yeah, it's very cool.
All right, we're gonna wrap up this show. We're gonna move right into the after show. Again, patreon.com/thegingerrunner. Join us over there. We've got a Discord server, a book club, a trivia night. I'm not even kidding. All these things exist, and it is so much fun. We would love to have you. We hope you are getting out there, training hard, racing harder, and partying the hardest. Sign up for Tiger Claw Virtual. See you guys this weekend. Thanks, everyone. Have a great
Thanks
night.
all.
Bye.
Bye.
Ginger Runners.